It's really great to have somebody as great as M.L. Snowden represented in the proper way, with the way she's really deserves to be represented. She's the greatest artist that we've met today. And I've been in the art business for quite a long time now, over 12 years. And so it's just fantastic to be able to hook up with somebody like M.L. Snowden and promote her work and just share it with everybody that we come in contact with.
We're just really grateful to have you here. This is a really, really special opportunity for each of you. Sometimes it could be, we don't know, but it could be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to meet M.L. Snowden and have this really special unveiling for you. Probably wondering what's under here. We're really blessed today to have the curator of the Legacy of Rodin collection, Mr. Daniel Wynn. So we'll be able to bring him up here and he'll be able to share more about M.L. Snowden and the Legacy of Rodin and the tools.
Robert Eberhard took the technique and the sculpting tool that was bequeathed to him to America and resided at Yale University and taught the students, and eventually gave the technique and tools to George Snowden, which is M.L. Snowden's father. This is part of history that we all probably have heard, but we all need to realize is that this is not just about the legacy of Rodin with the Rodin, but more of a legacy of the great sculptors of our past and present. Like during the time when Robert Eberhard learned the techniques from Rodin, there were contemporaries of Rodin during that time, of Antonin Mercier and Victor Peters, who were great sculptors that lend their techniques and talents and all their secrets to Robert Eberhard. Robert Eberhard learned that technique, took that technique with the Rodin technique, and shared that vision with George Snowden. And even with George Snowden, after learning all this technique, during his contemporary times, there were great sculptors like Daniel Chester French, who did the Lincoln Memorial, and Adolf Wyman, who did the U.S. coin, shared their technique and talents to George Snowden. So here George Snowden not only learned from Rodin, but all the great contemporaries of Rodin's time, but also the contemporaries of his time. So it's really very incredible that now all these great techniques and talents have been passed down from generations and ultimately culminated with M.L. Snowden. The body of work that you see tonight here are the largest body, complete collection worldwide, and it took only 8 years to complete, and these are museum works of art. We're the modern-day Medici, and M.L. Snowden is the modern-day Michelangelo. And years from now, people will look back and see how significant this part of art history has become. And I'm glad to be part of it and share this with you. And finally, I want to share with you also that this is a very rare opportunity tonight that M.L. is here, because typically she does maybe 1 or 2 shows every few years. And at every show, she does not give a presentation. This is more of an insight into the creative process and genius and what goes behind the studio that most people don't realize, because M.L. is very reclusive. All this body of work would never been seen unless she has let us now see the genius behind all these great men's work. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you one of our greatest living sculptors of our time, master sculptor M.L. Snowden.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you so much. It's such a tremendous pleasure to be here with all of you. I'm not sure my ears have cleared from the airplane. I'm sort of, but it's so beautiful to be with you here today. I spend so much of my time alone, and the sculpture studio is such a wonderful place to be. It collects light, it has so many memories associated about it, and when I think about sculpture, people coming onto sculpture, it's such a tactile art. It's there's so many ways and depths to perceive things, and it's not always optical. That the way things feel and the way they house and enclose so many things that words just can't define, and that's why I'm a sculptor, because it lets you walk into places of profundity that are beyond temporal existence, that it allows you to come forward and to see that the clay and the bronze have a life of their own. And when I have to say, when I was a child and when I was first in my father's sculpture studio when I was 5 years old, and he was making these enormous sculptural programs for the largest cathedral in North America, the Shrine of the Immaculate Conception in Washington, D.C. He placed a pearl of clay in the palm of my hand, and I can still feel it drop. And how that could contain everything that he was making in such stratospheric type of illusion, and that was so housing of such great spirituality and quality. It was incredible, and the feel of that. And I think at 5 years old I was married. And I said, this is how I want it to be, that this is true love. And my father had devoted his life to sculpture, and Professor Eberhard had devoted his life to sculpture. Masters that have done just one thing in their lives, and that is sculpture. When I was, probably 20, just before I went off to, had graduated, was going off to postgraduate grants to Europe, to the Louvre and the Vatican collections in Rome. And he said, be patient. Don't attempt to show your work too quickly, because when you show it, you want it to be the most profound place you can walk. It should be your ultimate statement, and it's a long road, and you'll discover things with art that will create such excitement and truth, and they'll speak to you. But never be in a hurry, have tremendous patience. And so this is such a great thing, that the long hours, thousands of hours that create these sculptures almost like river rocks, that you can touch them and feel them and place your hands on them, and you can trace where I place my hands and fingers in compression. And we can, when you see these anatomical details, these are really just compressions of my energy and the energy that's in the clay that forms these hills and valleys, and we call it anatomy, but they're really summaries of energy. And this is a meditation over the long years of handling the materials of a central, you might say, inspiration or visualization, that everything that I was touching, all the bronze and the clay, were essentially geological, that these are all natural mind, earth materials, and that in my art the message is the medium, and that it comes together, that the sculpture itself are aspects of a geological illumination or vision, that all the works brought together speak in a body that translates and has a dialogue from work to work to work, that vivify and give perspective to planetary miracles, cosmic ideas that meditations that the very substance of bronze is written in our own bodies. All of the same elements were tied into us, and that they're just merely rearranged differently. And sculpture is a compressive art. It forms just like a planet does, that accretes and condenses material around a nucleus of gravity of form, and as it compresses and condenses, it becomes a planet. And as I condense these abstractions, they become figural. And as they become figural, they begin to summarize their energy. That when I compress these with my hands, that they naturally want to summarize and morph to the figuration. I don't create the figuration per se. The figuration rises as a result of compression. And this is a planetary idea that at a certain point it accrues so much compressive energy that it begins to glow like a star. And that's the essential quality of a star. And so when you see these rifts of clay and bronze, that in this alluvia, this is the deltas of the river-rivulet formations of water, but also in bronze, it creates the beginning summaries of figuration. Bronze and clay do not want to make the Euclidean planes of geometry. They make a different kind of statement that's natural to it. And these figures naturally arise. It's a dialogue that half of what occurs within the sculpture is natural to it. This is not a paint. It's a metallurgical reaction between the thickness of the bronze wall to the thousands of degrees of heat that sweats the metal and makes the air and the water inherent in the bronze breathe out. It opens the pores, the heat does. And this is a bloom. This is a bloom that comes from deep in the metal in a almost transmutation of platinum and the gold and the silver and the copper and all these elemental qualities and inclusions that are within bronze, striated through it, that come out in the presence of this historic Fournier patina. The patina is an inheritance from Fournier, and it's always interesting to see it in halogenic light because it was originally seen in candlelight and in daylight. And I always, in contemplating the patina, say that sculpture is the most immaterial of all the arts because it's how it collects light. That these are sculptures that depend upon their life for not only their volume, but their flame of a place that sense arose. That you can't tell wherein the spirit moves at the center, but it has a distinct life like that pearl in the middle of your hand that breathes around a feeling and a vision, and how these visions and feelings, the intention is everything, the spirit, and how you feel about something is how it will manifest through very obdurate materials. It's a very liquid and floating world of clouds, even though we're speaking of thousands of pounds. But it's never about the thing. It's about something beyond the physicality of it. It's in a sense like a kind of nexus or flowering of creation. When we look upon the bronzes, we stand in a place that I've stood in light for all the years that I have desired to be a sculptor since I've been 5. And we make a line back together because it lives because we see it and perceive it. And this is the great crown of the focus of the sculpture, the focus of our emotion and mentality, that we are matter come to contemplate itself, where matter come to life, and we have tremendous healing powers and tremendous doors and perspectives within ourselves that we may not know that we collect or that we can access. My bronzes each have a mark on them. It's the Rodin, Eberhard, Snowden, Marc de Fondeur, and the real reason why it's on my work is because that presents a pathway that as a woman I might not have picked the heavy art, but because I believed that I could and that I loved it, it's a part of me. And when we see it together, we join into the creative experience and reaching back into time to, at least to, in my eyes and all the love that has surrounded me for all these years, that together we bring it alive because we can see it. My father would be more than